Ladies and gentlemen, it is a profound tragedy to build a life you've forgotten how to inhabit. You see, you look around at the walls you've painted, the career you've sculpted, and the relationships you've carefully nurtured. And yet, there is a haunting silence where your presence should be. On the outside, you are the very picture of competence, right? You are high-functioning, reliable, and perhaps even envied by those around you. But on the inside, well, you feel like a ghost haunting your own hallways. You have become the architect of a grand, beautiful house, yet you find yourself standing out in the cold, staring through the window at a life that seems to belong to someone else. Why is it that we feel like imposters in the middle of our own hard-won success? Why does the mirror reflect a stranger, even when we've achieved the very milestones we once prayed for? This isn't just a simple case of burnout or a passing mood. It is a deep psychological dissonance, a quiet internal exile that leaves you asking the most terrifying question of all. Who is this person living my life? We often treat this sense of detachment as a flaw, a glitch in our mental hardware that we need to fix or, more commonly, hide from the world. We feel a sense of shame, as if we are ungrateful for the blessings we've secured. But today, we are going to look at this through a much deeper lens. What if we told you that this feeling of being a stranger in your own skin isn't a feeling? This creates a specific kind of psychological agitation, a restless, buzzing anxiety that whispers that you are a stranger in your own house. We spend so much energy maintaining this reliable persona because we have convinced ourselves, truly convinced ourselves, that our true thoughts, our messy emotions, and our deepest desires are too volatile for public consumption. We sacrifice authenticity on the altar of safety. We choose to be known for things we aren't, rather than risk being rejected for who we are. But, ladies and gentlemen, this leads us to a haunting question that most of us spend a lifetime, trying to avoid. If you stripped away the expectations of your parents, the demands of your career, and the silent pressure to be good, who is actually left standing there? We are often so terrified to meet the person beneath the mask because we fear that person might be unrecognizable. Or worse, you see, that they might be gone entirely. However, the truth is far more complex than a simple disappearance. Because while you've been busy being who the world needs you to be, the real you hasn't vanished. They've been waiting in the shadows, sending signals you've been trained to ignore. But what happens when those signals become impossible to suppress? What happens when the mask finally begins to crack? But we must be honest with ourselves. Firmly, while the performative self was built to keep you safe, it was never meant to keep you happy. It was a temporary shield that has, unfortunately, become a permanent cage. And as the years pass, the weight of carrying this character, it becomes heavier than we ever anticipated. But how did this performance actually begin? What were the specific moments in your past that forced you to trade your authenticity for approval? Measured. Because, you see, to find your way back to the person in the wings, we first have to understand the invisible architects who built the stage you're standing on. And the blueprints they used, they might be more familiar than you realize. Ladies and gentlemen, Understanding the architects of our isolation is a necessary revelation, but it is not the final destination. To stop feeling like a guest in your own skin, you must begin the difficult, quiet process of re-inhabitating your life. This isn't about some sudden, loud rebellion against the world, you know? It is about a methodical, quiet reclamation of your soul. To move from a performance to a true presence, we must implement a specific protocol for an internal homecoming. We begin with the compliance audit. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to look back at your last 48 hours with total clinical clarity. Identify 3 recurring choices you made, not because they actually aligned with your values, but solely because you wanted to avoid the discomfort of disappointing someone else, right? Perhaps it was saying yes to a commitment that makes your stomach knot, or softening your opinion just to keep the peace at dinner. By naming these moments of compliance, you begin to see exactly where your authentic self ends and the character you play begins. Once we identify the masks, And yet, ladies and gentlemen, this is where the architecture of your soul, truly begins to change. For a long time, you may have treated your life like a museum, a place where everything is perfectly curated, dusted, and preserved for the gaze of others. You spent your energy maintaining a monument to a person who didn't actually exist, while you, the real you, lived in the cold shadows of the basement. But as you shed those layers, and as you stop performing for an audience that was never truly paying attention to your heart anyway, something miraculous happens. You begin to walk through the rooms of your own existence and find that the air is finally getting warmer. The house of your life is no longer a hollow shell. It is finally becoming a home. To live authentically is to stop being a guest in your own skin. It is the quiet, profound act of lighting the hearth and deciding that you are the only one who truly needs to feel the warmth. Yes, some people may walk away because they no longer recognize the furniture of your mind, but their departure, it only makes more room for those who will love you for your truth rather than your performance. Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest tragedy is not being misunderstood by the world. It is being a stranger to yourself. It is time to stop maintaining the monument and start living in the room. Gently. You have spent enough time standing outside your own life, looking in through the window, right? It is time to step inside, lock the door against the noise of expectation, and finally rest. Before we conclude our journey today, I want to invite you into the conversation. What is one performative habit, one thing you do solely to satisfy the expectations of others, that you are ready to let go of today? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your courage may be the light someone else needs to find their own way. If this exploration resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe to Mindscapes Explored. Together, we will continue to map the depths of the human experience and find our way back to the people we were always meant to be. Until next time.